Good evening, one and all. Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2025, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 77 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions commemorating Viksit Bharat at 2047 and various commemorations as part of awareness and campaigns. Today, we are commemorating World Autism Awareness Day, and the theme for 2025 is Advancing Neurodiversity and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Since the United Nations General Assembly designated 2nd April as World Autism Awareness Day, in short known as WAAD, in 2007, the UN has worked to promote the full realization of human rights and fundamental freedoms for autistic individuals, ensuring their equal participation in society. Over the years, significant progress has been made, driven in large part by autistic advocates who have worked tirelessly to bring the lived experiences of autistic individuals to the forefront of global discussions. The 2007 General Assembly resolution highlighted the need to raise public awareness of autism. Today, more than 17 years later, the global movement has expanded beyond awareness to actively promoting acceptance, appreciation, and inclusion, recognizing the contributions autistic people make to their communities and the world at large. The 2025 World Autism Awareness Day observance under the theme Advancing Neurodiversity and the UN Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) highlights the intersection between neurodiversity and global sustainability efforts, showcasing how inclusive policies and practices can drive positive changes for autistic individuals worldwide and contribute to the achievements of SDGs. Bringing together global experts, policymakers, and autistic voices, the event features keynote speeches, panel discussions, and interactive sessions addressing areas such as inclusive healthcare, education, employment, and urban development. This year's discussion explores the role of neurodiversity in shaping policies that promote accessibility, equality, and innovation across multiple sectors. Discussions focus on inclusive healthcare, quality education, workplace accessibility, reducing inequalities, and designing autism-friendly cities and communities. The 2025 WAD event is organized by the Institute of Neurodiversity ION, in short, with the support of United Nations Department of Global Communications. ION is a neuro-minority founded and led global membership organization headquartered in Switzerland with its presence in 40 countries worldwide. As the largest, most globally represented neurobiodiversity or neurodiversity initiative, ION works to empower neurominorities, advocate for equal opportunities, and promote acceptance and education. By fostering dialogue and collaboration across multiple sectors, World Autism Awareness Day 2025 will reinforce the need for sustained efforts to eliminate barriers, promote inclusive policies, and recognize contributions of autistic individuals to society and the achievement of SDGs. When we look at the background of this day, Throughout its history, the United Nations family has celebrated diversity and promoted the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities, including learning differences and developmental disabilities. In 2008, the Convention on the Rights of Persons and Disabilities entered into force, reaffirming the fundamental principle of universal human rights for all. Its purpose is to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. It is a vital tool to foster an inclusive and caring society for all and to ensure that children and adults with autism can lead full and meaningful lives. The United Nations General Assembly unanimously declared 2nd April as the World Autism Awareness Day via Resolution 62 by 139 to highlight the need to improve quality of life those with autism so they can lead full and meaningful lives as an integral part of society. Autism is a lifelong neurological condition that manifests during early childhood, irrespective of gender, race, or socio-economic status. The term autism spectrum refers to a range of characteristics. Appropriate support, accommodation, and acceptance of this neurological variation allow those on the spectrum to enjoy equal opportunity and the full and effective participation in society. Autism is mainly characterized by its unique social interactions, non-standard ways of learning, keen interest in specific subjects, inclination to routines, challenges in typical communications, and particular ways of processing sensory information. The rate of autism in all regions of the world is high, and the lack of understanding has a tremendous impact on the individuals, their families, and communities. The stigmatization and discrimination associated with neurological differences remain substantial obstacles to diagnosis and therapies, an issue that must be addressed by both public policymakers, developing nations, as well as donor countries. So today, we are also commemorating Autism Awareness Day, which has been renamed Autism Awareness Month, and that month has been renamed as Autism Acceptance Day, Acceptance Month. As we have seen, April 2nd is Autism Awareness Day, and CDC statistics reveal that autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is 4.3 times more prevalent in boys than it is in girls. This is because girls often go undiagnosed because they don't fit in autism stereotypes and they mask symptoms better than boys do. According to the Child Mind Institute, there is no better way to celebrate this day than by becoming aware of the characteristics of people with the condition and how all of us can do better to increase our own understanding and promote kindness. World Autism Awareness Day, which is observed on April 2nd every year, recognizes and spreads awareness for the rights of people with autism. The condition typically starts during childhood and continues into the adult. Autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disorder characterized by behavioral and communicational affections that impact a person's ability to navigate social interactions and also causes repetitive and restrictive behavior. The first historical appearance of the word autism was made in 1911 by the psychiatrist Eugene Bleuler, who used the term to describe a specific cluster of symptoms that were considered simple symptoms of schizophrenia as an extreme social withdrawal. In that order, it was in 1943 when pediatric psychiatrist Dr. Leo Kanner characterized autism as a social and emotional disorder in his article Autistic Disturbances of Affective Contact, and in 1944, Hans Asperger published his Autism Psychopathology article where he described autism as a disorder of normal intelligence, children who have difficulties with social and communication skills. These articles were an important contribution to the studies that helped to classify autism as a disorder separate from schizophrenia in 1980. With the continuous investigation and research on autism, World Autism Awareness Day was sent to April 2nd of each year by the United Nations General Assembly on Resolution 62 by 139 and adopted on December 18 of 2007 to encourage member states to take action in raising awareness about people with autism spectrum disorder and support the research finding new ways to improve wellness and inclusion. Finally, the notion of autism as a spectrum was developed in 2013 by the American Psychiatric Association in the fifth edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders by combining all subcategories of autism and related conditions into one unified category, including varied characteristics, severity, and presentation of the symptoms. Pharmaceutical treatments include secretin injection and risperidone to act on dopamine receptors in 1970s, studies on Asperger's syndrome in 1995. As a result of 30-year study, Sula Wolf publishes that children with Asperger's syndrome represent the most subtle and most stable end of autism spectrum because they become independent as adults and display exceptional gifts. So World Autism Awareness Day was created by United Nations General Assembly. World Autism Awareness Day lands on April 2nd every year in 2007. The American Psychiatric Association develops a unified category of autism spectrum in the fifth edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders in 2013. So World Autism Awareness Day celebrates the resilience of those affected by the disorder and supports causes that promote awareness of. Children in schools are educated about autism and encouraged to be accepting of it. As autistic children are subjected to bullying, it is very important for their peers to be tolerated and inclusive of them. The signs of autism are at times not so prevalent, which is why adults, especially parents, are also educated on this matter. Local business and shopping centers are also big on autism awareness, and a portion of their sales go towards autism causes and organizations. Going by the numbers, 1 in 59 is the number of children diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder in 2018. 1 in 34 is the number of boys diagnosed with ASD in 2016, according to the data collected by the CDC. 1 in 145, the number of girls diagnosed with ASD in 2016, according to the data collected by the CDC. The age after which the most children are diagnosed with ASD is around 4 years. 31% is the percentage of children with an intellectual disability due to ASD. 2 to 18% is the percentage of chances of parents having a second child with ASD after the first one. 36 to 95% is the percentage of chances that if one child has autism in a pair of twins, the other will be affected as well. 1 by 2 of the total number of children with autism typically wander or bolt from the safe setting if something catches their interest. So 28% is the percentage of children with ASD who have self-harm behavior, and 2 by 3 is the total number of children with autism face severe bullying. So, what causes autism? Scientists found recently that many genetic mutations can be associated with autism. The results show that there are more than 100 autism risk genes, but also most of the cases have a complex combination of genetic and environmental factors. So, autism is not diagnosed until the age of 2 years, and only a specialist psychologist, psychiatrist, neurologist can diagnose it. But there are some things to look for, like lack of sharing sound, smiles, and facial expressions by 9 months, or forming words by 16 months. So, what to do after a diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder, ASD? It can be a struggle in the first months to accept the condition, but the best way to deal with the diagnosis is to educate yourself and search for the help of a specialist, psychologist, psychiatrist, neurologist, because there are a lot of resources and treatments that can help you. So even nowadays, when almost everyone has access to information, there are still many people that don't know about autism and the characteristics of people with it. Become an advocate for the autistic community by educating the masses. There are many people who either have autism or have a family member with autism and are part of community-wide, nationwide, or global-wide association. So get in contact with them to get involved in any activities planned for the day. And World Autism Awareness Day is a perfect day to have good time with your friends who are diagnosed with autism. Make sure to plan sensory sensitive activities for you both to enjoy and pack gluten-free and casein-free foods to share. In 2018, approximately 1 in 59 children were diagnosed as being on autism spectrum. Boys are more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls. An early diagnosis can be really helpful. Autism can be diagnosed as early as age 2. Early intervention affords the best opportunity to support wellness. Children with autism disorders are most likely to suffer from gastrointestinal disorders than other children. Also, more than half of the children with autism have chronic sleep disorders. It is estimated that the cost of caring for the services required, including the diet for the autism, can be 196 billion per year for adults and $66 billion per year for children, an expensive disorder. People with autism spectrum disorders can help to make a change in the world. All they need is to be successful in treatment and support from their environment. Just take the people like Tim Burton, Charles Darwin, Bill Gates, and Albert Einstein as an example. So there is no cure, but there are treatments. Nowadays, there are many ways to treat autism spectrum disorders, but they can only be reached when the person is diagnosed. By becoming aware, we can help others to get in touch with the specialist and start a treatment that can increase their wellness. So people with autism spectrum disorders have specific characteristics, behaviors, tastes, and ways to do things. The key is to understand their way to see the world and their performance without trying to make them change. There is no cure for autism spectrum disorders. Once you got diagnosed, it's a condition for the rest of your life. And research demonstrates that job activities that encourage independence can increase daily skills and reduce autism symptoms. Today is also commemorated as Autism Acceptance Day, which is now also known as World Autism Day or World Autism Awareness Day, which is observed annually on April 2nd, adopted by the United Nations on December 18, 2007. The purpose of this day is already seen as to raise awareness and promote acceptance of people with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. It also represents an opportunity to tear down misconceptions and false notions about the disability. Today is also commemorated as International Children's Book Day on April 2nd. Annually, for centuries, the importance of reading has been taught in schools. Still, International Children's Book Day brings awareness to reading and how essential it is in molding the young minds of future. Books provide kids with a sense of escapism from their mundane realities or their difficult circumstances and allow them to discover stories on their own terms in a language they understand. Next time you don't know what to get your little niece or nephew, buy them a book that meant something to you when you were growing up and share the adventure. So, one of the greatest joys in life is gifting a child a book and watching them discover a magical world of reading. This is something that has been celebrated through International Children's Book Day since April 2nd, 1967, which is also known as the birthday of Hans Christian Andersen, a Danish author famous for his fairy tales that include The Ugly Duckling, The Little Merry Maid, and Thumbelina. So teachers play most crucial role in providing children with the ability to read, comprehend, and utilize what they learn through books and reading. Parents too play a role, especially in early development, but schools are where kids will do the most learning. That is why schools spend a lot of money and time finding the perfect prescribed text for the learners to ensure that they will be actively reading and learning something. So, International Children's Book Day is sponsored by the International Board of Books for Young People, which is a non-profit organization based in the United Kingdom. Writing competitions, book award announcements, and events with the children literature authors are among activities that take place annually. Every year, a different nation section of International Board of on Books for Young People is chosen to be international sponsor of International Children's Book Day. It selects a theme and commissions a well-known author from the host country to write a message to the children of the world and a renowned illustrator to design a poster. These materials are used to promote books and reading in various ways. Today is also commemorated as International Fact-Checking Day, which is observed on April 2nd and is still about all setting the record straight and protecting the general public from misinformation or fake news. And while the name may appear to be self-explanatory, fact checkers help to protect the reputation of a publication through the verification of facts and prevention of misinformation or journalist fraud. Happily, this can help reduce lawsuits and cases of defamation, which errors in reportage may lead to. Hence, it's evident that the fact checker plays a quite a key role here too. In a word, where news comes from all kinds of social media sources, ranging from Twitter to Reddit to Instagram, information and media can very easily be manipulated to misguide or sway public opinions. In some ways, then, fact checkers are the superheroes of today, doing us all of the public service. The first official observation of International Fact Checking Day was on April 2nd, 2017. However, the concept of having such a day was first conceived in 2014 at a conference of journalists and professional fact checkers at the London School of Economics. The discussion was born out of a recognition of the danger that political misinformation poses, particularly on social media sites, which are consumed by the mass daily. In 2016, during the US elections, fake news wreaked havoc and brought this issue into the spotlight again, which is why the observance was officially created in 2016, though celebrated a year later. It is officially promoted by the International Fact Checking Network, IFCN, which partners with various media organizations worldwide. The significance of the date, April 2nd, is also noteworthy because it falls on the day after April Fool's Day, cleverly pointing to the binary of fools versus fact. On this day, many different kinds of media organizations rally around and add to the growing pool of resources that can equip people to check facts and provide tips and lessons to students and the public on ways to identify and stop the spread of misinformation or fake news. Factually speaking, fact checking as a thing belongs to the recent past and has been in existence for less than 100 years. It has its roots in the era of American yellow journalism, where truth took the backseat to sensationalism when it came to headlines, all for the sake of profit. Initially dominated by women and considered a feminine job, fact checking began to gain legitimacy as a career with the establishment of Time magazine in the 1920s. With the explosion of fake news on social media sites now, it has doubled its importance. About 69% of the world's fresh water is locked up in glaciers and ice sheets, is an interesting fact. A random fact is the Olympics used to also include competitive art as a category. So, a wide fact being buried at sea now has a new meaning thanks to the company Eternal Reefs, which transform cremated remains into sustainable coastal reefs. So, on the next piece of news you come across on your social media platform of choice, try using the methods prescribed by Google to verify the information stated. Welcome to your first step on the path of awareness. There are many organizations out there on the internet which provide resources for public fact checking. Some of these include factchecking.org, politicfact.com. Getting their names out there and spreading awareness would go a long way in supporting their endeavor. Read up on fact checking. These reads can be quite fascinating. We had two. So pick up a copy of works like Lifespan of the Fact by Jim Fingal and John D. Agata or Fact Checkers Bible by Sarah Harrison Smith. Run an image search by right-clicking on any image. So Google image for context. Checking publications that you trust are reputable in a good way to verify information. Compare with other sources. Google has a new tool called Fact Check Explorer, which aids the process. If a picture looks suspicious, there are resources like Google Earth, which can give real evidence to compare with, zoom into places. Reliable sources can often be found in the category on search engines like Google. Check under the news category. To stop the spread of misinformation, it is important to be aware of how influential what one reads in the news can be. Fact checking ensures that we all take responsibility for what we consume and choose to believe to root out corruption and potentially harmful propaganda. To encourage public professional collaboration, fact checking professionals need the help and collaboration of public because the web is so wide and there are just so many ways that information is disseminated these days. The more critical the skeptical individuals become of the information they consume, the better it would be to stem and spread the corrupted information. Raise your hand if you have stopped buying the newspaper or catching the evening news on TV. Whatever your reasons might be, ranging from saving the environment to avoiding propaganda, exposure to news in some form over social media is inevitable. So this day brings the importance of engaging with the news in the correct way to the forefront. So today is also commemorated as Nature Day in Iran. Nature Day, or in the Persian language, Sizda Bidar, is an Iranian public holiday celebrated on April 2nd in normal years and April 1st in leap year. This year it falls on April 2nd. In Iranian culture, it is celebrated as the 13th day of Farvardin, the first month of Iranian calendar, to mark the end of Nowruz celebrations, and is generally described as a day for Iranians to relax and have fun in their individual choices of open spaces. All over the country, picnicking dominates, and both adults and young feel enthusiastic, and planning for the day starts well in advance. The origin of Nature Day in Iran is rooted in Zoroastrianism. About 4,000 years ago, Siddhas Bidar was celebrated in an ancient Iran to worship their star, the god of rain, in the hopes that prayers offered that day would make the good god overcome the drought demon and send in the rains. Over the past few centuries, the day has been stripped of its religious affiliation and is now seen more as a cultural holiday than a religious one. Sizda Bidar simply means getting rid of number 13. In Iran, just as in many world cultures, the number 13 is feared as an ominous number. Triskaidekaphobia is the scientific term for this fear. Iranians believe that by going out for picnics in places like parks and countryside on the 13th day of Nowruz celebrations, they are discarding all their bad luck and would start the rest of the year on a good note. So the last activities of the day's celebration is generally believed to perform the task at the end of picnics. Observers take green plant shoots grown from the beginning of the Nowruz celebrations and release them on flowing water bodies, usually rivers or streams. Besides releasing green plant shoots on rivers, a version of the Western April Fool known as Lie of the 13th is observed on the day and typically involves playing pranks on others. Other fun activities marking the day include singing, dancing, chattering, playing games, and for the young singles, tying knots in the grass, hoping that doing so would bring them spouses, a practice for that also has strong affiliations to an Iranian religious myth. Iranian foods like sekanjpan, a drink made from vinegar and honey, and ashi dough, yogurt syrup are generally consumed on this day. Today is also commemorated as National Walking Day, which is celebrated every year on the first Wednesday in April and takes place on April 2nd this year, which is exactly as it sounds, a day to celebrate, easiest way to be the healthiest version of you. Walking for 30 to 60 minutes per day may sound it isn't much, but studies have shown that it can drastically improve your health and even help prevent ailments such as type 2 diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. So walking has always been a part of being human. Many archaeologists have found that even when were nomadic tribes, we would often walk great distances to stalk our prey. Think woolly mammoths and wait for them to sleep before pouncing. Walking is essentially what humans are physically we best at. We are slowest runners, the worst swimmers, and we can't even fly without a big jet engine. Walking is a human's bread and butter. Maybe that's why during the Victorian era, there was a little fad called pedestrianism, where walking became one of the major spectator sports in America and Europe until baseball usurped. But individuals would wager massive bets over whether walkers could make it marathon distances and at what time. And that's the reason why race walking is an Olympic sport. After all, whether it's John Moore's spiritual journeys through the woods, pilgrimages to Mecca, or just a casual stroll through your local park, walking has always held a close, dear place in the hearts of humans. So even before the Christianity and Islam has evolved as a religion or existed religion, people used to take pilgrimages to various holy temples in Hinduism and used to travel by walk as there were not much transportation and animals were used as transport in earlier days. So there are many health benefits associated with it and also why the National Move More Month and National Walking Day were created to promote this fantastic and surprisingly easy pastime. Today is also commemorated as National Reconciling Day in Reconciliation Day in the US, especially on April 2nd every year. It is an opportunity to mend relationships that we have damaged on purpose or not. Through our words of actions, forgive and ask for forgiveness is the resonant message for National Reconciliation Day. It is a day when you have to dump your apprehensions about approaching a person you have hurt in the past. without analyzing whose mistake it was. Just take a step toward that person where a rash moment can damage relationships. A sincere effort on National Reconciliation Day can repair the damage. They are just people to heal old wounds by clearing misunderstanding and asking to be forgiven. A single act or sentence creates a deep misunderstanding, and before you realize it, results in a gaping fissure in the relationship. Anger and disappointment take over, and soon the relationship is damaged beyond repair. Days become months and years, and not a single word is exchanged. It could happen between childhood friends, siblings, family members, or even teammates from the local football team. As the time passes, the damage could transcend to your other relationships. Estrangement with your spouse could lead to marital stress. Similarly, problems with your colleague could lead to professional and work related stress. Slowly, anger turns to bitterness and seeps into your psyche, leaving you a troubled soul. National Reconciliation Day offers people an opportunity to reconcile relationships and work on past issues. Reaching out to the person with whom you were once on good terms, do your part to break down barriers. You may or may not apologize, but it is essential to show a willingness to reconcile. The credit for the day goes to a newspaper columnist and Landers, active in the 1980s. She regularly responded to her readers' letters. In response to one such letter, she started promoting April 2 as a reconciliation day. Each year on this day, she encouraged her readers to mend their broken relationships and dedicated her columns to letters about these relationships. Today is also commemorated as National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. In US, it is a great snack, but the best part is many combinations of this classic, choosing different flavors of jelly or alternating between creamy and crunchy peanut butter. Today is also commemorated as National Love Your Produce Manager Day in US, which is observed on April 2nd every year. In the United States, customers express their gratitude to the supermarket produce managers and the wonderful work they do to ensure that we get fresh food daily. The day acknowledges all the hard work that produce managers do to bring to bring us the world's best produce straight to our storefront. Produce managers are members of the supermarket administrative staff. They are responsible for choosing which produce their store will sell and the best places they can source it. So don't forget to thank a produce manager today. The next time you are in produce section of your grocery store, take a moment to realize that someone has to order the fresh produce, keep the shelves stocked, and bring you fresh seasonal produce all the time. New produce only finds its way to supermarkets when the produce manager takes the initiative to stock it. In addition to placing orders, produce managers set up visually appealing displays and help customers have easy access to the best items. They decide on the colors, sizes, flavors, and options that are on offer to the customers. In effect, just about everything that pops up on your plate was brought to you by a produce manager. National Love Your Produce Manager was first observed in 2012. The day highlights the role of the store's produce manager, who is fully responsible for creating and maintaining the produce display. The person also works within the supermarket guidelines to optimize sales and boost the net profit of the department. In addition to these duties, produce managers are involved in introducing and experimenting with new products in their department. Consequently, many supermarket sales depend on the efforts of these managers. They aim to offer better customer service. A well qualified and efficient manager contributes to building a loyal customer base, and that's sure to keep shoppers returning for more. Business that invest in produce managers invariably perform much better than those that do not. Today is also commemorated as National DIY Day, that is Do It Yourself Day in US. So it's all about getting the job done yourself on National DIY Day. celebrated annually on April 2nd. Do it yourself or DIY as it is often abbreviated, is the act of creativity handling tasks you would usually hire someone to do. These include building, decorating, fixing, and renovating. The day was created by the Craft Box Girls team to encourage fellow crafters and spark the creative interest of people of all ages and genders across the nation. DIY is a self-made culture that applies to large things like flipping a house and smaller things like cutting your hair. People have been doing it themselves for longer than you might imagine. In the times when you couldn't look up a name and phone number through a logbook or search online for your local artisans, people relied on personal skills and helpful advice to get the job done. Today is also commemorated as National Child Health Day of Hope in US, which is annually observed on the first Wednesday of April, and this year it falls on April 2nd. It aims to create awareness and highlight the problem of child abuse and neglect. On the day, holiday volunteers and advocates meet the members of Congress to educate leaders about essential legislation supporting child abuse and neglect victims. Founded by Sarah O'Meara and Unifound Federation in 1959, Child Help is America's oldest and largest non-profit organization. It is dedicated to the prevention and treatment of child abuse. Child Help provides treatment programs across the country for victims of abuse and runs Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline, the only national helpline for child abuse and neglect. The organization began as International Orphans, created after Omera and Feddersen took on the responsibility to support 11 Japanese American children they had encountered in Japan while on a government sponsored goodwill tour. They returned to the US to raise funds for the cause, and in 1961, International Orphans built two large orphanages in the Tokyo area for Asian American children. So in 1976, O'Meara and Federson launched a campaign against the child abuse called Children's Village USA. It protected severely abused children and provided them with treatment and therapy. In 1979, O'Meara and Federson worked alongside President Jimmy Carter to establish April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Later in 1983, Children's Village USA's name was changed to Child Help USA, and Child Help International was created for international activities. Children's Village USA created the first national toll-free hotline for a child 1800. It still operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The hotline offers a variety of support resources from professional crisis counselors. Congress voted to designate the first Wednesday in April as National Child Health Day of Hope in 2000. On this day, people across the nation take time to say a prayer and observe a moment of silence in honor and remembrance of children who suffer from abuse and neglect. Today is also commemorated as Day of the Veterans in Argentina, also known as Malvinas Day, is an annual day observed on April 2nd in Argentina, commemorating the loss of lives during the 1982 Falklands War. This day was instituted on November 22nd, 2000 and replaced the Day of Argentina's sovereignty over the Malvinas, Sandwich, and South Atlantic Islands, which had previously been observed on June 10 to commemorate the appointment of a governor over the islands in 1892. During the 74-day occupation, which lasted from April 2nd to June 14, 1982, 649 Argentines and 255 Britons and 3 Falkland Islanders were slain. Argentina surrendered to United Kingdom on June 14, 1982, and the British immediately reasserted control over the islands. Today is also commemorated as Day of Hope in US. It is a day of inspiration and motivation for everyone to wake up to the need to rescue children and adults who are passing through phases of abuse of different kinds, sickness, and traumatic experiences. The primary purpose of observing this day is to strive to put an end to child abuse and neglect. It's time to raise the call and give hope to hopeless in whatever little way we can. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us in this today's commemorations. So we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form which has been raised in the form of votes. So see you all tomorrow with the same link with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.